Welcome to Moments in the Word. I'm James Tyler, your host, and this afternoon we'll be reading from Jeremiah chapter number 22, verses 17 and 18. But thine eyes and thine heart are not but for thy covetousness, and for to shed innocent blood, and for oppression and for violence to do it. Therefore, thus saith the Lord concerning Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, they shall not lament for him, saying, Ah, my brother, or Ah, my sister. They shall not lament for him, saying, Ah, Lord, or Ah, his glory. As we turn and we look at the context of this text here and how it applies to Jesus as well as our lives today, we see that it is very important to point out some things that we can gauge ourselves on. And for one, how this passage points toward Jesus. We see Jesus is the opposite of the corrupt king. Jeremiah condemns a ruler whose heart is set on greed and violence. Jesus, by contrast, comes gentle and humble in heart, rejects worldly power and exploitation, defends the oppressed, and lays down his own life instead of taking life. Where Jehoiakim uses power to serve himself, Jesus uses power to serve others. Jeremiah 22 exposes the kind of king humanity often chooses and highlights the kind of king God gives us in Jesus. Jesus fulfills the idea of the righteous king Jeremiah longed for. Much of Jeremiah's prophecy anticipates a future righteous ruler. Jehoiakim is the failed king, Jesus is the faithful king. So the passage becomes a contrast. Jehoiakim, greedy, violent, and oppressive. Jesus, self giving, peaceful, and compassionate. Jehoiakim exploits the weak. Jesus lifts up the weak. Jehoiakim, dishonored in death. Jesus exalted in resurrection. Jehoiakim, a failed son of David. Jesus, the true son of David. So, this text shows why Israel needed Jesus and why we need him today. Now, how can we apply this passage to our lives today? Well, I'm glad you asked. Examine what our eyes and our heart are set on. Jeremiah says Jehoiakim's eyes and heart were fixed on selfish gain. This challenges us to ask, what do I desire most? What drives my decisions? Do I value people more than profit? Do I use influence to serve or to take? This passage becomes a mirror for our motives. Reject injustice in all its forms. Jeremiah condemns oppression, violence, exploiting the vulnerable, indifference to innocent suffering. Following Jesus means actively resisting these same patterns in our homes, workplace, and communities and systems that we're involved in on a day to day basis. The text reminds us that remember that God cares deeply about how we treat others. Live with the end in mind. Power is temporary, character is lasting. God sees what is hidden. Our legacy is shaped by how we love. Jesus invites us into a different kind of kingdom, one built on humility, justice, and mercy. I'm James Tyler, coming to you live from the Castle Studios. And welcome again to Moments in the Word. God bless.